Hello, lovelies. Okay, today we are continuing our discussion about angles. So yesterday we did some segments and angles with some algebra. Today I've got a couple more things you need to know about angles. Most of this you've seen before, which is fabulous. We should know that complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Those angles don't have to be adjacent, right? Like those are not adjacent. If you remember, the word adjacent means next to each other, not overlapping. So like these are adjacent angles. They make a 90-degree angle. But these are also complementary. 50 and 40 make 90. They don't have to be next to each other to be complementary. Supplementary, two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Yet again, they can be next to each other or not. They just have to add up to give you 180 degrees. Also remember that 180 is a straight line. We're going to get into that in some of our vocab down here. Identify angle 1 and angle 2, complementary, supplementary, or neither. Okay, we try our hardest not to make assumptions in geometry class. So we see that that right there is 90 degrees. We know that. We see that box. We also can assume, the one thing you can assume is a straight line is 180, right? Which means that this angle is going to be 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. We know that angle 1 and 2 are going to equal 90 degrees. So that is complementary. Now here, maybe complementary, but there's no box there and there's no other way to tell that those add up to 90. So we're going to say that these are neither. All right, let's look here. We have angle 1 and angle 2. They are on a straight line. Whenever you're on a straight line, you add up to 180. So these are supplementary. All right, these don't look like either. Let's see if there's anything else I can do. Okay, if that's 90 and that's a straight line, that means that's 90. Well, it's a straight line, so it means that's 90. So we have two 90-degree angles. Well, 90 plus 90 is 180. So these are actually supplementary. A little tricky there. Solve for the indicated value. All right, we have our 90-degree angle marker, so we know 90 minus 68. Miss Mayhew is being lazy and getting out our calculator. 90 minus 68 is 22 degrees. Gorgeous. All right, we have a straight line, so we know this is supplementary. 180 minus 124, 56 degrees. I don't know why that's so big. C, E, D, they're supplementary. Okay, so these two are going to add up to 180. That one equals that. Okay, so we can do some algebra with this too. 2x plus 6 plus my other angle are going to equal 180 degrees. Like terms. So that's 3x minus 3 equals 180. Add 3 to both sides. 3x equals 183. Divide by 3, divide by 3. I'm going to scooch this over so I'm not in the way of this box. Here it is. So 183 divided by 3 is 61. Whoops. X equals 61. And then the measure of CDE is this one. So we're going to say 2 times 61 plus 6. If you include those parentheses, that's great. It's not going to make a difference either way. 2 times 61 plus 6. Try putting that whole thing in your calculator instead of doing steps. It'll make you faster. So it's 128 degrees. Now, if we wanted to check our work, we could keep going, right? So 61 minus 9 is 52. And 52 plus 128 is 180. We did everything right. We're good to go. Not necessary, just helpful. All right, a couple more vocab words. Linear pairs. So two angles that are adjacent and supplementary. So remember, these two aren't adjacent, so they are not a linear pair. But these two, supplementary next to each other, linear pair. Linear pairs make a line, right? That is the easiest way to remember what a linear pair is. Similarly, vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are angles that are on a line. So these are vertical angles, these are vertical angles. But what's cool about vertical angles, you see my V and then my upside down V, means that this angle is equal to this angle and this angle is equal to this angle. So opposite angles are congruent. Vertical angles are congruent. Let's see if we can name some of these. Okay, we're gonna have to get some colors out to name these guys. AEB, AEB, CEB, CEB. All right, they are supplementary, they're on a line. Let's see, what else do we know? Oh, Mayhew, you put in the wrong. Back up, guys, back up, back up. Mayhew's picture's wrong. I'm sitting here, I'm like, why don't I have enough space? CEB, there we go. Those do not add up to 180. They do not add up to 90, but they are next to each other. So we can say that they are adjacent. We don't know that they're congruent. Yeah, no other choices I got there. All right, let's try again. So AEB is my orange one. And then BED, this is where I was at. BED. All right, so these are next to each other, so we are adjacent. Whoops, hard to read a highlighter. They are on a straight line, so they're going to be a linear pair. And linear pairs are always add up to 180, so they're supplementary. Not necessarily congruent. I think that's all I got going right now. Cool. All right, identifying some more angles here. ACD, get out my highlighter. ACD and blank are a linear pair. So what would make a line with ACD? To me, it looks like ACF would make a linear pair. Angle ACF is going to make a line with that. Okay, ACB and blank are complementary angles. So what would add up with ACB to get me 90 degrees? Sure does look like these two added together would be 90, since that's a pair and you have the box here. So what is that? BCD. Highlight it right in black. Angle BCD. All right. ECF. Different color. ECF and blank are adjacent angles. Adjacent, next to, without overlapping. So you actually have a couple choices here. The one I've got in orange would work. ACF, that's adjacent, but you could have also done this FCD. It would be adjacent. Don't forget your angle marks. All right, ECF, so I'm still in green. And blank are vertical angles. Vertical, opposite angles are congruent. Looks like the one I've got in yellow here. They are vertical angles. They are opposite from each other, and they're equal. And you can see that. You see how they have the little, like this little mark and this little mark? That always helps me tell things are congruent. Fabulous. So let's get a little bit of practice with these before we get to our homework. So I'm trying to find the measure of each of these angles. I have a lot of different orders you can do this in. Not important. Because we were just talking about vertical angles, I see immediately that Y is 43 degrees. Okay, and then let's keep going. It looks to me like this is a straight line. We can assume straight lines. So I'm going to do 180 minus 43 to get me X. You also could have done to get you Z, right? They're going to be the same. 180 minus 43 is 137. And these are vertical angles. We know they're equal, or you could have thought, they're linear pairs with that one. Multiple directions you could have gone there. Okay, mistake most kiddos make immediately is they're like, oh, vertical angles here. No, they are not with the same lines, right? This line doesn't go through, so those cannot be vertical. Be careful, slow down. What I do see is that since this is 90, I know this is 90 because this is a straight line. So I can figure out Z by doing 90 minus 72. 90 minus 72 is 18 degrees. And then let's see, what else can I figure out? Now, there is a set of vertical angles on here. This line goes all the way through. This line goes all the way through. Is there anything exactly opposite the Y? Yes, that's 72. So you can say that is 72 degrees. Y is 72 degrees. Now that I know that's 72 degrees, I can figure out my X because they're a linear pair. They're on the same line right here. 180 minus 72. 180 minus 72 is 108. This is really good practice on, which angles are which, how to figure out what they're going to be. Wonderful. All right, angles 1 and 2 form a linear pair. Linear pairs on a line, that's 180 degrees. So find X, find measure of angle 1. So we're going to add these two up together and set them equal to 180. 5X plus 9 plus 3X plus 11 equals 180 degrees. Like terms. 8X plus 20 equals 180, minus 20 on both sides. 8X equals 160. Divide by 8 on both sides. X equals 20. So the measure of angle 1 let's plug it in. 5 times 20 plus 9. You can leave the parentheses or not. It's not going to matter. 5 times 20 is 100 plus 9 more is 109 degrees. Again, if you wanted to keep plugging it in and double check your work, you could. So like here, if I said 3 times 20 plus 11, that's going to get me 60 plus 11, which is 71. 71 plus 109 equals 180. So we know we did it correctly. My homework got split into 2 pages. Yours is on 1. Label your angles, true, false. Identify the angles. So like, don't forget your angle marks on all of these. And down here, we're solving for some unknowns. Good luck.